It's the Fear It Goes show on the main channel of TVU with your host, Brandi Taylor. How you doing, Brandi?
Hello, beautiful souls. I am fabulous today.
That's good. That's good. We have an extra special requested show for all those who are walking 25 kilometers plus a day. Must know your nutrition insights.
Very important, very important. How do we perform at our peak? Part of it definitely has to do with the amount of sleep we get, if we're getting sleep, because we really do need that rest period. And you don't necessarily have to have sleep. Sometimes you can just have rest, but sleep is important, obviously. And then I specialize with the gut biome. Um, and I've kind of adapted the keto diet. So we've reduced carbohydrates and really incorporate whole foods to recreate a very healthy gut, which means that you are able to then absorb all the nutrients and vitamins that you're getting from your food, because that's part of what gives us lots and lots of energy and lots of clear mind space to be able to do all the great things that we want to do. So without a healthy gut, you could eat really healthy and still not be healthy. You could have issues with what's actually going on. So you need to make sure that you have a really, really healthy gut biome. And there's a few ways to do that, and there's ways to test it. But healthy gut biome is absolutely night and day difference with the way you think, with the way you feel, with the way your body responds to things, um, the way you get sick or don't get sick. Your immune system is so strong when you are healthy from the inside out. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I have to put this in there because seriously, I have been nonstop thinking about core values over this last week. And James, you and I have talked about core values. And it is so crucial to every aspect of your life to really know your core values and to be able to articulate those, whether it's personally or professionally, because these are the things that really drive you from deep inside. So I'm going to do a podcast on that this week. So if you guys want to see that or want to hear about that, just come to fearitgoes. I was going to say fearitgoes.com. You can come there and then click on the link for the podcast, or you could just go to the podcast, Fear It Goes. It's on iTunes and Spotify and Google Play and whatever other platforms out there. I swear to God, I'm on a million. So yeah, come on there.
I just have to interrupt for 1 second and pause.
Yeah.
I'll be right.
Beautiful package that we have the gift of using. So these bodies of ours carry extra weight, get really sluggish, have lots of issues when we're not treating it the way that we can and should be. And I don't like using the word should because it's usually attached to some guilt in there, but there's much greater things we can accomplish just by eating well. So I want to talk about the gut biome today because if you are struggling with things like excess weight and it's really hard to drop, if you are struggling with getting sick a lot, if you are struggling with sometimes allergies, things like diabetes, some autoimmune diseases, a lot of them, actually almost all ailments in the body are linked to inflammatory issues. And we have a very inflammatory diet in North America. North Americans just eat way too much carbs for what we need. And the issue with that is we're not eating enough fats, which are really healthy for us. Depends on which fat you're eating, but certain fats are really, really healthy for you and you need them to function well. And when we actually, let me go back for a second because we can talk about macros for a second. So your macros are your carbohydrates, your fats, and your proteins. Carbohydrates are the first thing to burn. They're really quick energy. Even complex carbs will still burn faster than a breakdown of a protein or a breakdown of a fat, typically. Depends on the fat, though. So it's important to know how your body is utilizing the stuff you're sticking in it, the gas, right? This is a machine. And if we feed it poorly, or if we feed it like, I think sugar is one of those things. If we feed it lots of sugar, it's like pouring a little bit of sand in your gas tank every time, or a little bit of salt in your gas tank every time. Over time, that gas tank erodes. That causes problems throughout the whole car, right? We're no different. If we keep adding little bits of stuff over and over and over again that are really unhealthy for us regularly, we create lots of problems. Now, inflammation is created in numerous different ways, but high carbohydrate diets it is an inflammatory diet, right? So when you look at things like keto, paleo is a little bit different. I like paleo because it's more whole food based, but you can still eat paleo or be a vegetarian or a vegan and still eat really unhealthy. And I'm not saying paleo diet is really unhealthy. It typically tends to stick very, very closely to a whole food diet, but they use things um, in place of gluten. So paleo drops gluten, which a lot of people have issues with gluten, but it can also replace it with, typically actually paleo is pretty good. They use more nut flours and things like that, but you will come across things that are like low carb mixes, and those still will have like rice flour and tapioca flour and a whole bunch of other things that are still very high in things that are going to spike your glycemic index. And this matters in your body because a lot of people have become insulin resistant due to their diet. And it can be literally reversed. If you are a type 1 diabetic, this does not apply to you. You stopped creating insulin long ago. Somewhere in there, your body just stopped doing it or didn't do it. But type 2 diabetes is diet related. It's inflammation over and over and over. And that's basically like your body in constant stress, never ever calming down. So your body's always under attack. This is not fun for your poor little vessel here that you have to go out with every single day and function. So there are definitely things you can do to help yourself be much, much healthier. So we're going to start with talking about the microbiome. Microbiome is a bunch of bacteria. Now, we have more bacteria on and in us than we have cells in our body. We have hundreds of trillions of bacteria in and on us. And this is really important right now as we're sitting here looking at COVID, right? So COVID is all about, well, us today, right now, we're using a lot of sanitizers. What does that do? It wipes out all bacteria. It wipes out potential virus, right? But you're killing off some really important things that are your first line of defense with your immune system. We need bacteria on us to stop things from moving through us. And then we need the bacteria in us to prevent us. When we have lots of very good, healthy, diverse biome inside, we really are very capable of fighting off almost anything. Our bodies are so smart when we treat them well and feed them well. So microbiome's uber important. This lovely little colony of bacteria inside you and on you, but inside you is what we're going to focus on today. So again, if you're feeling that, I'm anxious, anxiety actually can be related to this a lot, and I'll explain why in a second. Anxiety, depression, major like stress management, not being able to manage stress, there's a lot of neurological connections to the gut biome, so to your microbiome, these lovely little bacteria in your gut. And the reason being is these beautiful little bacteria are signaling the brain to create neurotransmitters. What does that mean, right? Some scientific Chinese word. Sorry, I don't mean Chinese, but you know what I'm saying. It's just a big word. Neurotransmitters are things like serotonin. And we all know that serotonin is one of your happy, right? Serotonin is one of your happy hormones. You have something that's called GABA, G-A-B-A, that's also linked to, it's a neurotransmitter, and it is a stress management neurotransmitter. So if you're not managing stress, you could very likely have low GABA. When we're dealing with a lot of neurotransmitters, they're created in the gut. 90% are created in the gut. See, what happens with these beautiful bacteria is they're signaling. They say it's the second brain. I think it's the first. They signal the brain and say, please release this. create this, do this, and the brain facilitates and shoves it through the body. So these lovely little bacteria, when we have the right ones, are asking for certain things to be done. And when we don't have certain ones, we have these gaps in what we may or may not be able to absorb, may or may not be able to create, may or may not be healthy with or without. These little bacteria do so many things in your body. It's crucial to have a healthy biome. And you have a healthy biome by eating a diverse diet, like lots of fruits and vegetables, lots and lots of colors. But you also, there's other ways too, like, and that are really important, feeding the biome. So there's things called probiotics and prebiotics. Probiotics are the biome. They're the bacteria. So when you eat yogurt, it'll say, some of your yogurts say something about like high in probiotics. All of them have probiotics. That's how yogurt is made. It's through the probiotic itself. But lots of them have lots of sugar, which again creates inflammation. Sugar just creates inflammation in the body. So just know that whenever you eat sugar, you're creating inflammation. Okay, it's a stress on the body. I'm not saying don't eat sugar. I'm saying there's alternatives actually. You can still have sweets and great things that totally work with alternatives. And I'm not talking about aspartame, which is actually poison. But I am saying that there are some really great ones that are out there and really easy to use and almost one for one, like sugar related. And for those of you who don't like stevia, I'm kind of in that boat with you. I find stevia is one of those things that if you use drops, they're great because you can control it a lot more. If you use too much, it's totally gross. It's very sweet on the front and then has this bitter back of the mouth taste. It's totally don't like those. So stevia is one of those ones you just got to know how much you're using. That's why drops are great because you can go drop by drop and go, yep, that's good, or no, that's not. I need a little bit more, but you don't have to go a teaspoon because a teaspoon can be excessive. So drops are wonderful that way. But if we're eating yogurt, back to the probiotic idea here, if you're eating yogurts high in probiotics, you're starting to feed your gut a healthier bacteria range. Okay, so we want a spectrum of bacteria that are going to do great stuff for us. And there are multiple, I'm going to tell you, honestly, this book will change your life. It did mine. When I first read this book, it was written by a neurologist, which says a lot, right? Here's a neurologist, a brain specialist who specializes now in the gut biome, and this is how he treats a lot of his patients. But the book is called Brain Maker, and the author is David Perlmutter, and I cannot recommend this book enough. I read the book and went, oh my God, I can't unknow that. I can't pretend I don't know that. Shoot, I can't. Oh my God. If I don't change something today, this is how it all started for me. And that was 3 years ago, maybe more, 3 years ago. And then major research since, because it's fascinating to me and it's very cool learning about this stuff. But it was what started it for me. When I read that book, I went, if I don't change this today, I am literally setting myself up for potential of Alzheimer's. I'm setting myself up for potential diabetes. I'm setting myself up for a ton of issues that I can literally stop right here, right now. I'm also sitting here at that time, 25 pounds more than I am today, not knowing really that I was that over, like carrying that much weight. That was overweight for me. And then literally, like once I made the shift and things started to change, I now sit at the same weight I was at in high school, because there is something to be said. And I don't know where the statement came from, but I came across this a long, long time ago. And they say anything 5 pounds over what you were in high school, if you were healthy, is overweight for you. And I was like, that doesn't even make sense. As you get older, you just gain weight. That's what I thought. Just, as you get older, you just start to hurt more. And I hurt. I had hip problems and, since having babies, and I had headaches that I would get all the time, and migraines that would be horrible. And I don't look at headaches and migraines the same at all. Migraines are debilitating. You can't get out of bed. You're throwing up. You see light. Like, they're messed up. And I used to get those, and like just pains and joints, and like I used to sleep really shitty, and I had anxiety, and there is so much of it correlated to your diet. So the more I've dug into this, I actually designed a program around this because I think a lot of people don't understand how to do this, what to do, what first steps are, or how to maintain this and make it something that's an absolutely doable lifestyle where you can adapt in and go, I really like my dessert. Chocolate was a no, like there was no leaving chocolate for me. There was never going to be a day that I would say, okay, I'm cutting chocolate out. It was non-negotiable. So there are great recipes. There are great things you can do to feed yourself really well, feed that gut biome really well, and be so efficient and effective in the way that you are able to manage everything. So I don't get sick ever. I truly, honestly believe I will never have COVID. Never, 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 because I won't resonate there. My gut biome's really healthy. It keeps me lean. So another little beautiful, so many benefits to a healthy gut biome. But weight is one of them. They really do manage your weight, and they help with thyroid. So all of you that had thyroid issues or have thyroid issues out there, there is a diet for that to help correct it. I took thyroid pills for years. I had a messed up thyroid since I was a kid. It was hyperactive in the earlier stages of me, and then it was underactive after I had kids. And it messed me up terribly bad because there's a lot of things that are controlled by the thyroid. And it works in correlation with hormones too. So you really want to make sure you have a very good, healthy thyroid, but it controls temperatures and it controls weight. And those are two big things with thyroid, amongst many other things it does. But diet is so uber important, and we can literally heal our bodies with what we're eating. So whole foods, first and foremost, will always be your best bet. And so many people say, but it's going to take me too long to make dinner. It's going to this. I make dinners that are 15 minutes long. It takes me 15 minutes, totally healthy. Kids eat it and they like it. It's not stuff that's like, ugh, that's so gross. You totally can eat really great, wonderful foods that nourish you and create all the results you want with a body that's very on board with what you want in your life. I want to have lots of energy. I want to be able to play with my kids. I want to go climb a mountain, which I'm doing tomorrow. I want to do these things. And why wouldn't I? And I don't care how old I am. And it's really amazing when you have someone come to you and say, you are in better shape than people I know in my 20s. And I'm like, I'm in better shape than I was in my 20s, but in my latter 20s. In my early 20s, I was really, really in shape. But okay, so we were talking about probiotics, are the bacteria that hang out in your gut. And this is something very important to know about your gut biome and your immune system and how they work. So for those of you who have what's called leaky gut, it's this. Leaky gut is the inability to be able to absorb all the nutrients and vitamins that are coming out of your foods. So you could be eating, but your intestinal wall is not drawing what it needs to out of it. Part of that is a collagen issue because your body stops creating collagen at the age of 25 and really starts to decline by the age of 30. Everyone should be taking this, not only for your lovely skin and hair, but you really should be taking it for wonderful joints, cartilage, but for your gut lining. Gut lining is so important because that gut lining allows you to absorb everything you need to be healthy, right? So there's that. But this is the interesting part of your immune system and your gut biome. Think of it like this. I'm having a little party. I am all these awesome bacteria, and they're all hanging out in the house. And they're getting along, and everybody's great. But over in the corner, there's Joe and Larry and and Sally and Mo, and they're kind of mass downers, and they're not really very nice, and they're kind of creating some problems, but nothing too big. Okay, those four over in that corner are the bacteria that are not necessarily the healthiest ones we want inside, because there's lots of bacteria out there, and we have a lot of varieties of strains within us, but we want ones that are going to do the greatest things for us. So feeding those bacteria will dictate what happens with your body. So if I'm feeding myself high carbohydrate diet, I'm feeding those jerks in the corner, and they're multiplying. And now there's more of them hanging out in the party, and they're causing more problems. Now, on the outside of my lovely little house party here is my immune system. It's on the other side of the intestinal wall. Now, my windows, when I'm partying it up, get really foggy. Really what they get is this lovely layer of mucus if I have a healthy biome. And that thick layer of mucus protects the gut, and also creates a layer between your immune system, your immune cells, and your bacteria. So they don't see each other. Because what does your immune system do when it sees a foreign body or an invader? And bacteria is considered an invader in your body. What does it do? It tries to attack it. Hello, autoimmunes. When the body attacks itself, and we don't understand why, usually it's a gut issue. There are so many problems that have arisen in today's society due to a very inferior diet that we've been eating for a very long time. And I think we're the greatest social experiment right now, because since fats were removed in the late 70s, it was late 70s, and they said fats are bad. And what did they do? They took fats out of things, but fats taste really good and they satiate. So they took fats out and put in sugar. Sugar tastes really good, but it's highly addictive and really actually quite toxic to the body. So over long periods of time, we are seeing breakdown after breakdown after breakdown of the body from prolonged inflammatory diet. It's really amazing to me when I think now about people who are healthy, like really healthy into their 80s and 90s, and why. And then you see people who's, it's just, oh, you're just getting old. These are, when I was in finance, one of the things we talked about was, as you get older, your body just starts to break down. And these are expectations that your body is just going to start breaking down and doing things. And the chances of cancer are really, really high. All of these issues and possible dementia honestly scares the bejesus out of me, because 1 in 2 over the age of 85 has it or experiences it. And that is such a horrifically horrible disease. Like losing who you are, losing all the people you love, all the things that matter in your life, but you still have to live it. Like that to me is terrifying. I never want to experience that. Right? Horrible. Like horrible. And the numbers aren't that much lower from the age of 75 to 85 either. Like the statistics are just it's stressful just talking about this.
Yeah. You know what? It's so fascinating. There's so many things that you've talked about today that speak to so many different philosophical and metaphysical and mystical and medical things and lines of thought. I shouldn't call them things. They're lines of thought. So the most interesting one was that the symbiotes, or the symbiote whole, the symbiote collective.
We are host. Without them, we die. We die faster than we would without food or water, without our bacteria. Like we will die. We need them. They need us. We're symbiotic hosts.
I'm with you. So the symbiote then is it in chemical communication with our mind, or is in nervous communication with our mind?
That's a very interesting question.
Is there a difference? What chemicals are they issuing? Are they psychotropic? Are they neurotransmitters? You say they're neurotransmitters. So they're connected into that their electromagnet.
They are, and they do. I think they release both. I think they do it both ways.
So,
because I know it goes up spinal cord.
Okay.
Like, right? That's our communication highway through the body.
So it's connected somehow. So these stories that are in most, I'll call them myths, but those who are offended, I'll call them scripture.
Yeah.
Well, and there's issues of, being invaded. And then I'll use another word that speaks to another tradition, and I speak most respectfully. These entities,
Yep.
they've been identified by these groups. In a sense, it's bad bacteria sending the wrong signals, making people sick, and making them delusional. Anyways, that's fascinating. Now I'm going to tell you, I have a client who's also a channel host. She's now an older gal, and she's had her weight off for decades.
Good.
Okay? But coming out of her 20s, she hit, and I may be wrong, and she listens, I apologize, I'm just trying to remember the story, 300 pounds as a 5'8" woman. So big.
That's hard to carry all that.
Well, and she tried everything. Okay. Yep. And this is and I want your understanding of biome.
Yep.
And everything. She went on a 2-year diet of 10 chocolate bars a day. That's all she ate. And she lost all the weight. What kind of shock did she, because the body is in shock, but because you have so much weight, you have every nutrient, every possible thing that you need is in your body if you can get your body to start burning it. And I have a story that will relate to that. So
this is interesting. So she
there?
went into a caloric deficit. Obviously, 2 chocolate bars a day would be like maybe 500 to 600 calories a day, right? So she's in a massive deficit.
What? She's eating 10 chocolate bars a day.
Oh, what? Yeah. 10 chocolate bars a day?
Yeah.
How did she lose weight? Because I'm thinking
that's all she ate, though.
Yeah.
And
but
water.
That doesn't matter. I'm looking at, because
I don't know.
Weight isn't all about calories, by the way. Oh my God, that's a total fallacy. Weight is about a couple things. Biome is a way to hack yourself physically, but you can do it mentally. There's usually things you're holding on to that create weight in you. We've talked about that before. And then, so there's a couple things going on with weight. But if I'm looking at the chocolate bar, I don't know enough details around what else was going on at that time. She's eating 10 chocolate bars, and that's the only information I have. Okay.
Yes. That's all she's.
Let's say she's got peanuts and caramel and chocolate and I don't know, and let's say she's got, I'm just thinking of a typical chocolate bar, and I'm thinking I don't know.
No, it's Jersey milk, she said.
Okay, so no peanuts. So she's got no protein. She would have a little bit of protein coming from. She's really taking in all carbohydrates. So this is an interesting thing to know when it comes to diet, and when you're looking at combinations of macros. Okay. Carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. When you're looking at the combination of these things, some work really well together. And the way that you move around every day, how much you move around will depend on which way you should eat, right? So if I'm sedentary, I never say that word right. If I sit at a desk all day long, right? If I'm working in an office and this is my life and I sit there for hours at a time and I might get up for 5 minutes and go walk around, but really I'm sitting all the time, I am not burning anywhere near what I might be taking in. Right?
And it's not necessarily the 7-Eleven 8-liter big gulp I've got on my desk. Or the Costco bag of sour cream and onion chips.
Right.
Just saying.
So this is something important to know about microbiome. You'll know right away if you have a healthy one or not by this, what you crave. So if I'm craving chips like that all the time, or I'm craving chocolate bars all the time, or I'm craving things like bread or pasta all the time, I crave it a lot. That's that biome. It's not you. It's actually not you telling you what you want to eat ever. ever. It's the biome. They're telling you what they want to feed them to keep them healthy. So whatever is the dominant biome, okay, whichever bacterias or combination of your culture is, will be telling you what to eat, cravings that you get. So if I'm craving things that I know aren't that good, like that bag of chips, or, big plate of pasta with nothing, with
those chocolate puff cookies with the jam in them.
like those marshmallow chocolate. I know exactly what you're talking
They're called
about.
puffs.
Okay, sure.
They were anyways when I was a kid. I don't
And
know now. I
probably
don't
still
even know.
today, right? But if you're craving things like this all the time, that's the biome saying, this is what I need to feed me so I can stay healthy. So if you're craving things that are not very healthy, your biome is not very healthy. And there's ways to adjust that really quick. So I talked about probiotics, which you can get from yogurt, but you can get it from lots of different sources too. But really, one of the best ways, if you want to adjust this quickly, and you want to adjust all these cravings and all the craziness that's going on in your body quite quickly, take probiotics and feed them. Feeding them is the prebiotic. Okay, so you can take prebiotics. I wouldn't recommend that. Eat proper food. So things that are prebiotics feed those gut biome in healthy ways. So fermented foods, and I'm not talking about beer, peeps. Yes, it's fermented, but no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about things like sauerkrauts. And there's lots of really great krauts out there now that are not just sauerkraut, because sauerkraut's like, but there's some really, really good stuff out there. Kombucha is a fermented tea, and I make my own. I love it. I make kefir, which is, it's like a liquidy yogurt. So it's kind of like what yop would be without all the sugar and junk. Okay, so I make kefir, super easy to make. It takes 3 ingredients. It's like totally crazy easy, and very, very healthy. And it feeds the biome because it's high in probiotics, or it's high in the fibers, or it's high in the things that those bacteria need to grow and be healthy. So, and a lot of times, this is why fruits and vegetables, and more vegetables than fruit, because fruits have lots of sugar. There's always the buffer of the fiber in the fruit when you take it in whole form that will always be healthy, and you get lots of nutrients and stuff in that too. But watch how much you're eating. So if your majority of your fruits and vegetable intake is fruit, you're taking in a lot of sugar. Just keep that at the forefront. But when you're eating lots of vegetables, you're eating lots of fiber with those too. And some fruits are so high in fiber, like figs are wonderful. So are kiwi, and they're packed full of nutrients. So if you want to eat stuff, eat healthy, and it will feed a good, healthy biome. And you will notice differences so quickly, and all cravings, all of those crazy cravings. So I ate chocolate every single day. I was like, I'm not giving this up. I don't care. This is the one thing I'm sticking with. I can give up almost everything else, but not that. And honestly, I love cheese, and cheese also actually has helps the gut biome, but it also creates inflammation. It can. Dairies do. There's lots to know about food, so you can feed yourself best. And when you do, you're like, this is like magic. Your brain starts to work in ways that you can't imagine. Your retention, your recall, you're just so on top of things. You're so mentally alert. You're not tired. You don't feel foggy. And the energy levels you get are amazing. Again, this is all gut biome. This is all a really healthy body. And who doesn't want to be healthy and go out and have the energy and the thoughts that go with that energy to do things that are fun for them?
And then there's the diet that I went on. Okay, so no, serious.
You went on the walk diet, which is
no,
great.
no, before. No, oh, that was a year after. I started on the food diet. And
Yep.
anyways, I was basically 300 pounds. I was on 8 medications, and I got scared finally by a professional who took the time to tell me
Thank you, doctor.
that I'm going to get my feet cut off, then my legs cut off, and then I'll be dead.
Yep.
And I believed him. And so he told me, basically, eat vegetables. And
Fix this or die.
Eat vegetables, nothing processed white. No bread.
Yep.
No potatoes. No potatoes aren't processed, but no rice. And I cut that all out. And then I went to I slowly invented my own thing. I tried buying veggie dogs and veggie burgers, and after the first purchase, the taste of rubber, chemical rubber, I'm not convinced that was vegetable, right? So I thought, okay, instead of buying this guy's psychological attempt to convince me that this is vegetables, how about buy some of these? No, then I went to cans, right? Whatever. I missed that can, and so I actually got on, and then I started to develop my mush, right? And then I went to fresh vegetables. And so I started to buy 15 different kinds of vegetables. I'd chop them up.
Mm-hmm.
I'd boil it into a stew. I'd drain the broth off and have it in a container in the fridge.
Oh, I was going to say, what are you doing with that? There's tons of nutrients in that broth.
And then I'd fill it back up and bake it again. And then I'd put the to it. And I'd make containers of it, and I would have enough containers for 3 meals a day, and it would cost me about $150 a month in vegetables. Mm-hmm. I lost 25 pounds in the first month, and then it took me about a year to lose another 25 pounds. Just slow, right? And then I went on the walk, and I lost another almost 60 pounds.
Please don't use the word lost. Dropped.
Okay, dropped. Okay, and
dropped. Never lost. Never gonna find that again.
And then I came out of that diet, right? And I called it the Slim Jim, Big Jim diet, right? So, and then I added at the end, because at this time I'm at high performance walking. At that point, that was 15K a day for me.
Yep.
I had to add protein powder.
Of course you do.
Mental note: don't use whey into a mush that you're using that you have heat.
Oh.
We end up with like a cheese loaf, So go with the fish protein, even though it's like no. Actually, what's good is the vegetable protein, like the bean or pea protein.
Oh, there's a great vegetable protein powder out there by a triathlete. I'm trying to think what it's called, but I used to use his stuff all the time. I loved it.
And then because I was walking, I threw magnesium and potassium in, and that was my Slim Jim, Big Jim afterburner, right?
Okay.
And anyway, so that's where I was at, and now I've came out, and now I eat carrots and celery and apples, oranges, and bananas, and 2 eggs, and some corn chips, and a little bit of ice cream. But I'm up to let's say 25, 26 kilometers a day. So that's how I came out. So I think my biome's good.
And understand, you walk a lot. So if you think of it like this, okay, if you think of diet like this, back at the turn of last century, so if we looked at, 1905, most people were pretty freaking active. They were moving around a lot. They weren't getting into cars. They weren't sitting in front of their whatevers for long periods of time. They were active. So diet was fine to have carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, and lots of all of them because we were burning them. Carbohydrates burn first, proteins burn next, and fats burn last. Although, I'm going to get a little technical here. Depending on the mitochondria you have, you could technically have very, very high functioning where your body just processes it all quite quickly. But carbs will always, always burn first. They're your first source of energy. So if you're doing something that's like a quick burst of energy, carbohydrates are great for that. So if you're going to go out and do a run, you want to have some carbohydrates, and you want a mix of both fast and slow carb. Right? So I want to have things that are more complex with some things that are pretty quick. So you'll see runners who are sucking back or eating something with honey or sucking back an energy sugar thing because they need the burst, because you'll burn through it really fast. So you're burning through lots of stuff. But when we move into less and less, and I'm like the queen of HIIT and Tabata. I love fast, hard, intense workouts, and then I'm done. And I'm good for the day. And it's very efficient working out for my body. And I love it because I don't want to be in the gym for 2.5 hours. I did that in my 20s and I was like, this is crazy. 2.5 hours, that's a long time. It's a long time. Why do I want to do that? I don't. But I want to be healthy and I want to move this body enough and get my heart rate up and get all the benefits of working out. And really, honestly, I'll do as much as I can outside. But knowing what your activity levels are will also tell you how you need to eat. So I went keto / really I kind of created a microbiome diet, which follows some concepts of keto and some not. But and I carb cycle sometimes because I'm fat adapt. And a lot of people don't understand that or don't even know what fat adapt means. And they think keto is just one thing. It's not. Our bodies can go into ketosis within 15 hours. So a short fast, I don't eat from 5 o'clock at night, till like 10 o'clock the next day or next morning. I have fasted. My body can now literally be in ketosis. It will start burning. But then I feed it a carbohydrate and it takes glucose and immediately I'm no longer in ketosis. Ketosis is the lack of, and now it has to burn something else to create energy, which is done through ketones. And ketones are so good for the brain. Oh my God. And this is why I went with this form of diet. So I eat higher fat diet always, but I eat very healthy fats. I get them through nuts, I get them through oils, I get them through seeds, and I get them through some dairy, but I eat a high fat diet and it's extremely efficient for the body. Now, depending on the type of fats you get, you can have ones that burn as quickly as a carb or are slower to go. So coconut oil is one of those things. It's actually it's a long chain triglyceride. So it's an LCT, whereas MCT is a medium chain. And people get these mixed up. MCT is not coconut oil. It's a part of. It's very clean and fast burning. It bypasses the liver and it's instant energy. Whereas coconut oil has an extra chain. It's got an extra part to its chain. So it's longer and it takes longer to process. It does not bypass, unlike MCT. So if you're looking for a quick burst, MCT can be great. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more drawn out, because I know, in 3 hours or 2 hours and 3 hours, I'm going to go for a workout and I need some energy and it's like mid-afternoon, I'm going to have some coconut oil or I'm going to have some avocado oil or I'm going to eat some nuts. Right? So there's definitely ways to feed yourself so that you can get all of the energy that you need to function throughout the day without 15 cups of coffee. And I'm telling you, when your gut biome fixes itself, because it will, like when you eat right, it fixes itself. It grows and becomes this wonderful culture and it's happy. And therefore you are happy. Your thought patterns change, which is really interesting, actually. Because I said, for those of you with anxiety, depression, problems managing stress, those neurotransmitters are often off because of a gut biome issue. And it's amazing how easy it is to correct with food. You can literally heal yourself or kill yourself with food.
I've seen this all on your website, right? You have Biome.
I'm not sure, but okay. I have a program for this. It's called the B Tailored Method.
B Tailored Method. Okay.
Yeah, it's called the B Tailored Method, and it's a gut biome. It's a gut biome program. We talk all about the gut biome and how to be healthy and how to do this in the easiest ways so that it's not some crazy, oh my God, I can't manage this. I'm gonna be starving. Never happens. That's one of the weirdest things with diets too. Like, I'm so hungry. Fats don't do that. Fats are really satiating. So I always find myself doing this. When I'm full, I'm like, I push away my plate. Carbohydrates actually don't trigger the brain to do that. You can overeat so easily with carbohydrates. And then you feel bogged down heavy full. Whereas with fats, I'm like, no, I'm done. I can't eat another bite. I literally can't eat another bite. And it's triggered in the brain and you're like, nope, good. Thanks. And you just stop.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. That's good. That's good. Very insightful. Brandi Taylor, Fear It Goes on the main channel of TVU. Thank you.
My beautiful souls.